I'm testing the CP16R cable bundles now. So this is the main cable. Let's see, I have quite a lot of other stuff here. So here is what this looks like. So this is the front panel connector, and then the soldered joints protected by heat shrink, and this is the 6-pin connector going to the main board. Then this 3-pin connector goes to the back panel, 6-pin connector, and then we have engine switch. This is the start switch and this is engine switch, and you can of course change this if needed. These are the very basic, very cheap switches which I happen to have here. So I have extra ones, so I just included some switches. So to begin with, I have these switches on my own camera, but you can find better ones if you want. But you can manage with these, so these are included. And yeah, because these switches have a tendency of breaking when soldering, because the pins actually disengage quite easily. And it may not be that apparent when it happens. For example, this switch was broken. So it doesn't look bad from the outside, but this does not work. So, and pressing it, it doesn't go all the way down. So, and it sounds different, but compared to this, so this moves a longer distance than this. This is broken, it cannot be repaired. I have to throw this away. So that is why I'm testing all of this, because this one is already tested, but this one is not. So what I'm doing, I have these adapters which attach to the pins of the multimeter like this, and then they have these nice little clamps which can be attached to the switch pins like this. So I don't need to hold them in place. I can just clamp them there and they hold, and then continue the test here. And then pressing the switch, and we have the sound mark on the multimeter. So I'm pressing it like 10 times, and if every single press does work, then the switch is fine. So then the other switch. Of course, easier with both hands. So there's this red one was the start switch, and this is the engine. Yeah, that works too. So then I already showed that this is the finished one. So I'm attaching small pieces of heat. First I'm bending the wire like this. This is because if you mount this to the under the lens mount, there's the small panel about similar size than this. So if you mount this there, then they are pretty close to the film movement and the lower film loop. So it's not good if the wires are sticking very far away from the switch. So it's better to wrap them like this, so they go close to the body of the camera. I have the empty camera cell. So here is with those remotes. So this lens mount is there, and there is the panel where I attach the switches on my own camera. And it is pretty close to the movement, so one needs to run the wires close to the front edge and here where they go to the main board. It's of course easier to see when having the movement inside the camera. And this only has the footage counter and take up friction system. Yeah. So and I will make an installation video when having time, but the idea is we have so the idea is that we have the first we install the main board there, then we will put this whole main cable bundle, first the switches through this hole. So this was supposed to be an additional panel, but this is necessary now to install with this. So these go through the hole. Again, much easier with both hands, but I'm trying to film this. And then we mount the panel here. And with the original screws, if you have them. If you don't have them, then you need to find some screws with split. I don't have possibility for them. Then the cable bends over the main board. Do I have something resembling the main board? Here's the old prototype, so this goes over the... this is too difficult with one hand. So it goes over the shutter sensor like this, then one mounts the main board with one screw which mounts to that hole actually, and runs this 6-pin cable on the center down, and then when it goes all the way down to the bottom of the camera where then one can go to the side and attach it to the connector which mounts here, which this is the prototype board, so it has different connectors. The final one has those white 6-pin JST connector there. It fits to this. And then attaching the rest of the wires. So this goes first the main board and this goes then. This is the first wire. And then might be good to add the back panel. So that is why it took some thinking to how to make this, because of these switches are needed. And then the connection, so the 3 wires going to the back panel connector. But this does work, so I will use these for the first batch. So I have that one finished. This is the one finished one. And I was going to wrap these together, but I will not, because it's easier to bend the cable to the connector if these are not bundled. So it will look like this. And it's not a good idea to bend these very often. I protected it the best I can, but it's not possible to protect better than this. And it was not possible to mount strain relief to this panel, because the cable might go too close to the shutter the accelerometer shutter sensor plate or disc or whatever is the shutter sensor marker disc. So this has to go straight to the left and then bending downwards over the mainboard. So that's why it's mounted like this, but it's not a good idea to bend this joint very often, because it might damage the connectors inside this. The pin connectors I showed in the other video, how these individual pins are connected. The one where I showed how these are mounted to the individual bars, but it's not a good idea to bend this, so this has to stay relatively straight. It shouldn't break if bending it a couple of times, but if doing it like 40 times, then you will surely damage it some way. And you might get into some trouble if damaging this, because you likely will need to change the whole connector, cut the cable from here and change the connector to complete a new one and crimp the pins correctly and check it and everything. So I don't recommend damaging this. If you don't damage it and don't need it at all, then you might cut the cable and insulate all the ends so that they don't short circuit. But yeah, try not to break this connection, please. Of course, there's no warranty on the cables. I am testing them before shipping, but no guarantee that they will work after installation, because there's always possibility to damage this some way when bending the wires and everything. So trying my best to make them easy to install and reliable. But this is the way to mount the wires so that they don't accidentally go to the movement in any situation. Looks pretty weird, but it's necessary. So this did work, so I will install heat shrink this, and that's why I have the candle, because I don't use I actually don't even have a heat gun. I am using the candle. This, and of course the heat shrink tubing. You can guess what it does. So it shrinks when it's heated. It shrinks quite much. So that's why it's used. It is really good for insulation, and this is very long lasting stuff. So you could use tape, but if you do use tape, always use the Kapton tape. So always never ever put electrical tape to these devices, because after a couple of months the electrical tape glue liquefies, it goes to horrible glue which sticks to everything, and it's very difficult to clean, and it will probably go to your film too, and it makes the camera nightmare to clean. So not a good idea to use electrical tape or anything. Use the Kapton tape if you have to use some tape. I will include some small piece of Kapton tape with these kits, so you don't necessarily need to something like a couple of feet of it maybe. So you don't need to buy your own roll if you are just needing it for this installation in this kit and nothing else. So if you need to use tape, use the Kapton tape, either buy it from the store or use the one I will include with this. Like this heatsink stuff, it's pretty neat. And if you need to tie something down, you don't necessarily need tape, you can just use some kind of thread. Just the same kind of stuff for then when preparing clothes you don't necessarily need tape or anything. Or you can use zip ties, of course, they are good too. But one good possibility is to use thread and then tying it down properly and then adding a small drop of glue to the knot so that it can't open anymore. So that's one good way. In the old times they made some cable bundles like that, so that's possible too. But I have used the heat shrink in almost everything because it's a bit faster and easier. If most of it has to be attached before soldering, so that's the downside. If using thread or tape, then you could first solder and then make tie everything together. But this is pretty easy too. So now I'm just adding the heat shrink over this and then continuing. I have 2 more left of these after this, and then the one which had the broken switch, so I need to replace the switch which I showed you. Otherwise it's complete, but the switch was broken, so I need to replace it with a new one. And so this is the last part of the cable system, so after completing this I can test kits and then send them.